A lot of parents are very confused about introducing solid foods to their baby because they've heard a lot of different things from family and friends. They don't know exactly when to introduce solid foods or how to do it. But the American Academy of Pediatrics has some tips for you that will hopefully help. First of all, you need to decide if your baby's ready for solid foods. Your baby should weigh at least 13 pounds, be able to hold his or her head up on their own, and open their mouth when food comes towards them. So try it out. Get some baby food, put it on a spoon, and move it towards your baby's head. And if they open and are receptive, then that's a good sign. Try putting a little bit inside their mouth, and if they can move the food from the spoon to the back of their throat without gagging or spitting it all out, then that's normal. But do keep in mind when they are introduced to new foods, sometimes they're a little bit confused about the texture, the taste. It's something they haven't had before. So they may spit it out until they get a little more used to it. So it might take a couple of tries to determine if your baby's just doing it because they're a little bit confused about the newness of it all, or if they're actually having an issue because they're not ready to swallow foods yet. When you decide it's time to introduce solid foods to your baby, start with like a half spoonful. And talk your baby through the process. Be excited about it. Make excited faces and say, look at this yummy food. And your excitement will probably rub off on your baby. Also, it's never a good idea to try to introduce solid foods when your baby's really, really hungry. So it might help if you nurse or bottle feed your baby and then introduce the solid food, and you'll probably find that it will go better that way. Also, keep in mind that it's not good to put rice cereal into a bottle and feed it to your baby. A lot of parents feel that this is something they want to do once their baby gets old enough to try to help them sleep better through the night. And they may do better by having a little bit more of something in their stomachs before bedtime, but it should be fed to them with a spoon. And you can actually mix the rice cereal with breast milk or formula and then feed it to them that way. Start with perhaps a thinner consistency to get them used to it, and then slowly decrease the amount of liquid you put into it so that it's more of an oatmeal consistency once your baby's ready for that. Many parents wonder what foods to introduce first to their baby. And typically a lot of parents use single grain cereals first, but there's no data to prove that that is the right method. There are also many pediatricians who will recommend that you introduce veggies before fruits. But the fact is that babies are born with an affinity or a sweet tooth. They like sweets naturally. So introducing veggies before fruits won't necessarily make them like vegetables more later in life. You can try veggies, fruits, or single grain cereals when you start introducing food to your baby. It's best to wait about 2 to 3 days in between each new food that you introduce, just to make sure that there's no signs of an allergic reaction. Then if you do see signs of an allergic reaction, you'll know what it was from because you've been feeding your baby the same thing for the past few days. Most babies are ready for solid foods between 4 and 6 months, and your baby will gradually start to eat more solids as you introduce them more frequently. Start with one meal, and that can be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And once you've gotten that one meal down, then move to the second, and then get that one down and move to the third. And during this time, you're going to continue to give your baby breast milk or formula. Typically, babies, once they've been well established on solid foods and they're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, will want to eat solid foods and then follow it up with a nursing session or a bottle. And they'll typically want a bottle for snacks in between meal times or before bedtime. So the main source of fluids for your baby should remain breast milk or formula. And also, this is a very important part of their diet because at this point they're still getting most of the calories and nutrients from breast milk or formula. As your baby gets a little bit older, like 8 to 12 months, then they can they can become introduced to table food that's a proper size and texture so as not to cause them to choke. And by the time they're a year of age, you can then introduce whole milk. But if you have any other questions about your baby's diet or any concerns, be sure to consult with their pediatrician. However, if you have any other questions for me, feel free to ask them on our Facebook page and recommend us to your friends and family too.